you think this is maybe what the world would look like after the apocalypse? Well, this is maybe a slightly cooler version of it because the architecture's so 60s, kind of scary but with round corners.
Nestled upon the side of a wooded hill above Cardross is St. Peter's Seminary. Built in the early 60s, it was open for only a few years and has since fallen into decay. While it's a ruin, it's also a masterpiece of modern architecture. We went to visit earlier this week. Yeah, the ceiling of this room is clad in tongue grooves or something like it, and it's all kind of cascading down at the end. Wow. We've come up to the top floor. It's quite a spectacular view, sort of amidst the trees, and I can actually see for the first time. Yeah. And there's also a quite impressive mural of the Incredible Hulk amongst the burnt ruins.
Cardross.
Yeah. The seminary was designed and built by the Glaswegian practice Gillespie, Kidd and Coyer, one of many buildings commissioned by the Roman Catholic Church in the mid-20th century. They became known for their striking modern designs, and St. Peter's is considered their most significant work. We went to speak to someone who once worked for the firm and now teaches at the Glasgow School of Art.
My name is Mark Baines. I'm a tutor and lecturer at the Macintosh School of Architecture at the Glasgow School of Art.
Mark told us more about the history and ideas behind the site we'd been to visit earlier that day.
It's basically a series of discrete buildings, starting with and finishing with compositionally the Burnett House, which is a late 19th century baronial pile, Victoriana. And that's basically all the other buildings sort of are placed round about it, almost in a sort of spiral, and respecting the boundaries of the original garden. That's very important. The footprint of the building respected nature, basically. Yes, and all.
So I think here, we were in a kind of asymmetrical stairwell. We've come up to the top, and David and Rosie are just walking out onto a kind of gallery, an outside space, and presumably these are the cells or the rooms. Yeah, there's a row sort of looking down here. There must be about 20 or so rooms.
Each building is kind of unique in its composition, and it contrasts means of construction. The load-bearing construction of the sandstone house is contrasted with the opportunities of the frame, which is a more diaphanous structure, allowing light deep into the heart of the building. Every opportunity is taken to enrich what, in a sense, modern architecture. So it's not sort of just banal functionalism, anything but. What they were trying to do, almost in a kind of mannerist stroke Baroque fashion, was to extend the language of modern architecture, to enrich it, not only in stylistic terms, but enrich it for the experience of the occupants of the building and the purpose of the building. Yeah, so the chapel, it's quite a powerful religious, sacred space. Yes.
The main hall of the seminary is now spectacularly derelict. The concrete frame is exposed, the walls are covered in graffiti, countless fragments of glass, metal and wood carpet the floor, and the beams of the roof are blackened by fire. Yet one of the most striking architectural features of the building is still powerfully visible. At one end of this huge room, the roof is open to the sky, and while the rest of the space is dark and cluttered, the altar and the sanctuary are bathed in light.
A lot of the ideas for post-war architecture were born in the interwar years. Light, air, hygiene, green space, Right. Gillespie and Coyer tried to redefine the nature of sacred space. This is all to do with Vatican II. They dispelled the nature of aisle and nave, so to create a single room, a single space which embraced the ceremony and the congregation, the people. That was their idea. And then suffuse it with the kind of qualities of light, which would create the ambience that befits and is appropriate to a religious ceremony. It's a supreme challenge to any architect to sculpt a room. And I think that's what they did. Every church is a piece of internal spatial sculpture.
The altar unfortunately looks a bit lopsided, as if it's one end of it's been hewn off somehow. There's something almost I mean, it looks like something that perhaps they might find on a planet in Star Trek, like an abandoned planet.
It's kind of like leaving the cinema in the daytime and walking out and it's light outside, but you haven't realised because you've been inside and it's dark.
It's like a ghost building.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I like that. I think it's a very difficult building to change into another use. And the loss of Burnett's, the baronial house, makes the compositions seem slightly odd. I think it would make a brilliant ruin. Most ruins or follies are romantic. And it has the landscape setting. Yeah? And you can imagine the concrete frame stripped of all its bits of timber. It's a sort of, all covered in ivy. It's a sort of strange kind of botanical object in a landscape.
A ruin strikes a romantic chord in all of us. Do its lines of crumbling brick or mossy stone trace out the streets of a city? Our fancy rebuilds its broken masonry.
Piece upon piece, imagination peoples the sight with garrulous throngs that anciently jostled, squabbled, haggled and laughed along the avenues. When now all is still save for the whirring birds,
Scuttling scorpion or a wandering goat. Even though we scoff at magic, a ruin rouses the awesome feeling that everything that ever happened in a place somehow lingers on there, that the very stones could whisper the secrets of centuries if they would.